Hi, hello, friends. Welcome back to Night Court Narrative. My name is Elvish. I hope you guys are doing very well. Today, I have another book that I actually really enjoyed. I was kind of scared going into it because I did hear a lot of really good things about it, and I was thinking that maybe this book was a little bit overhyped. Boy, was I wrong. This book was so appropriately hyped. I really enjoyed it. This was unfortunately the last book I read before I did end up in a massive reading slump. Um, this book did not put me in a reading slump. I should rephrase that. But before because if you watched maybe 2 videos ago, I don't know what order I'm putting these in, but ideally I just went through a massive reading slump. I mass read a ton of books afterwards. I finally got out of my reading slump, so now I am mass recording 4 to 5 different videos so that I can catch up with content. Okay, now that we're set up, we are discussing The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Pinner. I won't lie to you, I have never read any of her books. I didn't even know that this author existed, but my god, I absolutely loved this book. I did give this book a 5-star rating. I think it deserved every bit of that rating. This actually did very, very well, actually. Like, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, this book did very well. We actually have 2 different timelines going on. We have, I want to say, 4 main characters at this point, because in the olden times you have the apothecary owner, you have the little girl. In the new times you have our FMC, and then you have the library woman. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I will not hold you. I read this book maybe 2 weeks ago, and I have read so many books since, so I cannot remember their names. I know I have Caroline, and I think Caroline is the FMC, and I think Nella is the apothecary owner, I think. I don't think I remember the other 2 names. But, of course, if it comes up or if my brain hole randomly remembers it, then I will definitely give it a shot. But I really, really enjoyed this. One of the main standout elements for this book was the dual timeline. We move between the 1700s with Nella's, I don't know, and present day with Caroline, and I was genuinely compelled by both of them. It was insane. I'm not usually someone who gravitates towards historical fiction, if you can even really call this book that. But this was done so incredibly well that it never felt like a barrier. Instead, it really enhanced the experience. It was also fun getting to see the differences and also the similarities between the 1700s and today's day and age. Also, back then we had the apothecary. Nell, whatever, she ran an apothecary that women were able to come in, get herbs and spices or whatever you want to call them, and she would make concoctions to then poison their husbands at the time. And there were a lot of deaths. Obviously, this was in the time of viscounts, dukes, all of that. So she held a business to off these men to give these women an outing, and it was really nice. It was really cool to see all of that. And then, of course, we have Caroline. She's going through her own bullshit at the time. She's married to someone with infidelity. She is trying to definitely get away, but she does come across the old vial, bottle, whatever you want to call it, from the apothecary. Obviously, it is now 200 plus years later. She's enthralled by this discovery, and she really wants to figure out what it is and what significance it played in history. So she ends up going and finds our second main character of the new day and age, which is like a library historian, whatnot, and they kind of deep dive together, and it does take Caroline into this mindset and on this journey of trying to figure out what this is. And then, of course, we go back in time and we get to see everything unfolding in real time as we're waiting to see what Caroline does in the new day. It's really, really cool to have both POVs. You definitely have the why did this happen? I wonder where this came from. And then we go back for 2 or 3 chapters and it actually shows why that happened or what this, it really answered your own questions, or I guess the FMC's questions with going back in time. It was very, very, very impressively done. It was so good. It also left me with many what ifs. Like after the book was done, I definitely want to see more of this book. And I know she has another book kind of similar, but I want to see more of this book. I would love to see the concept, you know, how do I want to say that? The concept more like dove deeper into. There's a better word for that. I cannot think of it right now. I'm so sorry. I actually just learned, I just learned from a doctor too that with my dyslexia, apparently I can think of the word in my head, but whenever my brain can't figure out how to say that word, or not even how to say it, but anything of that nature, then my brain goes blank. I didn't know that. Apparently that's a massive dyslexic thing, and I was completely unaware of that. So I feel like maybe I'm having a little dyslexic moment in my brain hole, but I just kind of want the story to be continued on, if that makes sense. It was so good that it gave me a lot of what ifs, and I feel like I really want to know the answers to it. And the book was so well done that instead of getting more content of this nature, like a second book or anything, my brain is now making up its own narrative in a way to kind of like tie in the what ifs, and it's such a fun read. Oh my god. Okay. And then unlike other historical fictions, this felt very grounded in a way that made it very believable rather than far-fetched. I do have a hard time with historical fictions, and I also have a hard time with historical fictions also made anew. It always feels very stagnant, and it feels very boxy in my opinion, but I do think that this one was done very, very well. From start to finish, obviously I was so heavily invested. It's been about 3 weeks and I am still invested in this book. It is one of those where I think this book has become one of my top 5 favorite reads of this year. Mind you, I'm about to hit 80 books for this year. So this is definitely one of my favorite reads of the year. The tension, especially within the police chapters, had me on edge in the best possible way. Consistently pushing me to read, you know, just the one more chapter. Even now, like I just said, I'm still heavily thinking about this book. I was so enthralled with it. I also have to give credit where credit is due. When it comes to the characters, I'm usually pretty critical on books that juggle multiple side characters because it's easy for voices and personalities to really blur together. But this book was completely left field. With a fairly large cast, I think overall maybe 10-ish characters. Obviously we have the consistency of maybe 4 to 5 different characters consistently throughout the book, but overall around 10 characters. Each of them had their own mannerisms, personalities, and role that were being played in this, and it was so easy to differentiate without any hesitation, which made reading literally so much better. It made the experience so much better, and I don't know, you know, another thing I really appreciated was the approach with the apothecary element. This is something I often find overdone, especially when authors lean heavily into the magical element of the apothecary. It kind of ends up overshadowing the actual concept of the apothecary itself. But here, there was no magic. There was no magic element whatsoever. And it made everything feel very heavily intentional and grounded. It also stayed true to what it was trying to be. And I think it did it very, very, very exceptionally well. I know my main issue, I don't really like books with apothecaries in it or anything of that nature because, like I said, it really dives deep into the magical element. And I don't know, I don't like apothecary books because it's more about the magic rather than the actual apothecary business. But this book was nothing but apothecary, and I liked it. Another thing that I really liked was, or I guess appreciated, was the approach to the apothecary element, as I just mentioned. There were also heavier moments woven through the story. Obviously, as I just mentioned, with the apothecary and the characters connected to it, it added more of emotional weight without taking away from the pacing. Obviously, with the apothecary being a murder house, basically, it added a lot of heaviness to it, but I found it very, very, very refreshing at the same time. At some point, it felt very impactful. Rather than like overly dramatized, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I'm so sorry, I for the life of me cannot remember the little girl's name, but I really liked her. I liked what she brought to the book. I liked the quirkiness and the attitude that she brought. Attitude typically is a bad thing. In this case, I think that her attitude uplifted the book. It definitely gave the book a little bit more edge, a little bit more spice as far as quirkiness goes, and I really did enjoy her. She was probably one of my favorite characters in this book. But yeah, this book is one of those books that I could absolutely see myself revisiting. I will definitely reread it to see if I maybe missed some key details in the first read. But overall, I really do recommend this book. I cannot say it enough. I absolutely loved this book so much. This was such a fun read. It's one that I've had on my TBR for easily like 2 years now, and I just kept putting it off because I was like, damn, this book is so overhyped. Like, typically when books are this overhyped, they are not good. They do not live up to the expectations. And boy, was I wrong. I should have definitely read this book sooner. Definitely 100% recommend. Please go give this book a chance. I do see how this book is not for everyone, so definitely if you read it and it wasn't for you, I want to know down below why. But I do recommend it. Please go give this book a chance. I want to definitely talk about it. And if you also ended this book with some what ifs, please let me know down below, because I am so insanely ready to just have a conversation with this book. But nobody that I know has read this book, and I am devastated. But yeah, that's all I have on this book. Typically the books where I, really want you guys to go out and read, I kind of give a little bit more vague reviews on it. I want you guys to be able to experience it firsthand as well. So definitely go give this a read. Let me know what you guys thought. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. But honestly, top 5 favorite read. Loved this book so much. Bye, y'all.